Guys, just give me a second here. I'm going to wait till it connects on Facebook. Always takes a second. Okay, we're good. So let me make sure I click live on Facebook. So we're live here on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and I'm going to go live on Instagram too. So just give me a second here. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, guys. So I'm just going to refresh Facebook. So if you're joining in on Instagram, welcome. If you see me looking this way, it's because I'm going live on other platforms, but I appreciate all of you who are able to join in live. And if you're watching the replay, be sure to comment replay below. If you are here live, I'm just going to give it a few seconds. If you are here live, comment below if you could see me. So wherever you're watching from, if you're on Instagram, Facebook, the Facebook group, LinkedIn, YouTube, just comment below to let me know that you could see me. I want to make sure that this is working. So I think we're good. Yeah, we're on. Okay, guys. So we're going to go right into it because we've got a lot to cover today. So if you're, the type of woman who gets things done and you're successful, you're driven, you handle whatever life throws at you, but lately that there's one thing that's just completely stumping you, and that's your own body. And maybe you're noticing whether it's like body composition changes or you've gained maybe 15, 30, 50 pounds. Nothing's working anymore. You're exhausted by 2 p.m., even though you're sleeping 8 hours. And maybe you're just finding yourself like looking in the mirror and feeling like, who is this person? And you're avoiding photos, your clothes aren't fitting the same way, and you just feel like you're living in a body that doesn't belong to you. So if this sounds familiar, you're in the right place. And if this does sound familiar, guys, like I've been in that spot too. My story is long. I'm not going to get into it, but I did have a bad concussion, a bad cycling accident that had me rebuilding my body from the inside out. So you're not alone feeling this way, but especially as we as you hit 35 and beyond, our body does start responding differently on a deeper level. And if you've approached this like, you've approached everything else with data, discipline, determination, maybe you've tried, tracking apps or things like Noom or restrictive diets or workouts like Orange Theory, whatever the case, intermittent fasting, keto, I could go on and on. The thing that I can understand why this might be driving you absolutely crazy. And for the first time in your life, you might be feeling like your determination, discipline aren't enough. And here's what I need you to understand, and we're going to go over it in this training, but you're not failing. You haven't failed. Your hormones have just changed the rules of the game. What you're experiencing isn't a willpower problem. It's not a needing more discipline problem. It's a hormone communication problem. And this is a cause. And most importantly, there is a solution. Okay. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your hormones start behaving differently, what's really happening when they send signals to your body, and how to become what I like to call the CEO of your body, of your hormones, instead of feeling like they're running the show. Because you don't need more restriction. You need to understand how to manage your hormones like the high performer that you are. So quickly, before we get into what's going on, if you're new here, if you're new to my Instagram page, if you're watching me on LinkedIn, if you're, again, new to the Facebook group, I'm Alexis Drellau, and I'm a biologist specializing in cellular and hormonal health, turned into a personal trainer and nutrition coach. And I've spent over the last decade transforming over 1,000 women's lives. Okay, so what led me here where I am today is, like I mentioned before, very briefly, is I had a massive cycling accident back in 2015. So also over 10 years ago now. And I had a serious concussion that became the catalyst for a bunch of hormonal problems, basically a hormonal crisis. And within months, my biology fell apart. Hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, my period disappeared, weight gain, complete identity loss. So I probably tried all of the same cookie cutter programs that you probably have, and they failed spectacularly. And what changed for me is I stopped fighting against my body and started working with it on a cellular level. So I'm now partnered up with a network of physicians as well, who share the same vision as me, and we help high achieving women overcome things like, weight loss resistance, fatigue, hormone symptoms by teaching them how to work with their unique biology, not against it. So getting to that point does take it does take you taking radical responsibility of your health. So just the fact that you're joining in today already proves that you're that type of person who wants to take responsibility. You want to stop settling for generic advice, and you want to start taking control of your changing body. So we're going to dive right into it. And I'm going to let me show you, what's exactly happening when your hormones are changing. So there's 3 things that we're going to cover today. The first thing is, and this is one of the biggest things to understand, is your hormones are messengers. Okay. So your hormones are constantly sending messages. But if your cells, and the analogy I always like to use, and if you've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me say this before, but your hormones are like your emails and your cells are like your inbox. So your hormones are sending messages, but if your cellular inbox can't receive them, that's when we run into issues. So this is why I look at everything from a cellular perspective, because that really drives everything going on upstream. If we don't fix the root of what's going on with your cells, that's when we run into hormonal imbalances, hormonal issues, bad symptoms, weight loss resistance, etc. So I just need you guys, the main thing to understand with this point is something that your doctor has probably never told you. But when it comes to estrogen, so we're going to talk about estrogen at this point, but it's not just about your period. Okay. So estrogen is basically, think about it as like the CEO, like it's your metabolism CEO. It's literally telling your cells what to do with every calorie that you consume. So think of, estrogen as your metabolic project manager, the CEO, which is driving everything. Okay. Now, estrogen, and again, I like using analogies because I think this way, okay? I'm very visual, and I just find it's easier to understand, especially when we're talking about more sciencey things like this. So think of estrogen like estrogen is sending specific emails, okay, to your cells. And they're saying, use carbs efficiently for energy, or build and maintain muscle tissue, or focus on keeping fat storage minimal. So when your estrogen levels start to decline, these messages get thrown off a bit, right? So your cells aren't receiving that same message. And this is when you could start experiencing more fat storage, especially around your midsection, trouble putting on muscle mass, etc. So when estrogen levels are good, when they're steady, especially in your reproductive years, when estrogen is higher, and I should say estradiol, it's one of the type of estrogens, but we won't get into the nitty gritty here. But when estrogen levels are good and your cells are healthy, everything goes smoothly. Now, your cells at that point are able to get those messages, right? Clearly, they're able to respond perfectly, and your metabolism stays efficient. You build muscle easily. You use food for energy instead of storing it as fat. Now, here's the first thing in this talk that's going to probably shock a lot of you. Yes, estrogen starts to decline as of the age of 35. That's completely normal. We can't change that. That's biology. That's going to happen. But here's the thing that no one tells you is, even if you start replacing, that estrogen with bioidentical hormone therapy, which again, I'm not, don't take this as I'm not for HRT. It is a tool. It's absolutely a tool. But if you start replacing it with bioidentical hormone therapy, it won't work properly if your cellular inbox is clogged. So again, think of your hormones as the emails, your cells are the inbox, right? So as we age, estrogen production naturally starts to decreases. So there are fewer, like I said before, fewer metabolism management emails being sent out because estrogen is going down, right? So many women think, oh, I'll just get on estrogen replacement. This is going to help me with fat gain. It's going to help me with muscle loss. It's going to solve all of my problems. But here's the problem. If your cellular inbox is clogged with things like inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, stress signals, which do increase as we age, as we put more stress on our body, then even those hormone messages like that if you're replacing with estrogen, it just bounces back or it's just going to get lost in your spam folder. So a few examples that things that I see in a lot of women before they come to work with us that's clogging up their cellular inbox, and just things for you guys to be aware of so that you could start, being proactive and getting ahead of the game. So just a few things: intermittent fasting, which there are a lot of people out there that are talking about intermittent fasting as like helping with cellular health. There is a time and place, and it's about how you do it, especially as your hormones change. Okay. So intermittent fasting does create inflammatory blood sugar swings, and that fills your cellular inbox with more stress signals. So intermittent fasting is one when it's not done appropriately. Doing crazy intense workouts, which if and again, it's not about not doing them at all, but if you're already exhausted, if you're very stressed out, you're just going to add on to that inflammatory load. So doing crazy intense workouts while you're super exhausted, or if you're going through a very stressful season, eating less than 1,300 calories. So at that point, you're basically starving your cells while trying to process estrogens, metabolism messages being off, right? So there's things like that. Or if we were to get into like deeper stuff that we see going on, deeper things like poor gut health, nutrient imbalances, poor detox pathways, etc. But what you could do today to start clearing out your cellular inbox, start improving it so that you can minimize, you can be preventative, you can minimize hormonal symptoms like this, is if you are intermittent fasting, if you're doing it for like 16 to 18 hours or more, especially, and again, I can't emphasize this enough, especially if you are stressed out, you're exhausted, you're depleted, you're not feeling good with it, 12 to 14 hours is good enough for most women. Okay. That's like the sweet spot without putting excess stress on your body. It allows your body to do its thing, to be in a fasted state, but you're not putting extra stress on it. So that's number one. Number two is starting your day with breakfast. So at least give or take 20 to 30 grams of protein, depending on like where you're starting off now. If you're not having any protein, or if you're having like minimal protein, start at the lower end, build it up. But you want to make sure that you're starting your day with breakfast with at least 20 grams of protein within 2 hours of waking. That allows to send clear metabolic messages. It starts protein synthesis, which is going to allow you to start building muscle. It allows to stabilize your blood sugar for the rest of the day. So that is another key one, super easy one to get started with. And something else that is super, super simple that you could start implementing as of right now is stop eating while you're checking emails or while you're working. Because when you're stressed or you're distracted and you're eating, your cells literally can't process the food signals properly. So your nervous system, and this is literally what it's called when you get into this state, is your rest and digest state. That's what it needs to get into in order to be able to be calm and digest and absorb nutrients properly. So the point for this first point that I want to get across is, if you're watching and you're considering, again, like you're on HRT, you're considering it, that's cool, but just keep in mind that these other behaviors need to be put into place to support it. It's not going to be the magic fix just because you're supplementing with bioidentical hormones. That's not going to solve all of your issues or all of your symptoms if you're not supporting your cellular health properly. So even these like few behaviors that I named that appear to be healthy, they have sneaky ways of increasing inflammation, and again, like then your estrogen that is there naturally, or the one that you're supplementing with, even if it's sending these messages of use food for energy, build muscle, it's still not going to be able to get through. So I see this with women all the time. This is actually a big thing that we focus on with a lot of women who are on a hormone replacement therapy, is they start it expecting to feel amazing, and don't get me wrong, some do, right? Again, that's why it's super unique, but expecting their metabolism to just bounce back or to help with certain symptoms. but yet they're not feeling a difference, or they're not seeing those changes. And that's often because they've either done a lot of restricted things in the past, or they're still doing things like keto, like fasting, like overtraining, which completely counteracts supporting their body properly. So again, if you're not supporting your body properly on that deeper level, estrogen's metabolism messages can't land. And then it just makes things worse. So that's point one. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and this is a common one as well, we're going to get into your sleep hormones, more specifically progesterone. So pillar number 2 to becoming the CEO of your hormones after 35 is progesterone. So think of progesterone, it's sending sleep and repair messages, okay? But again, if your cellular inbox is too full or can't process them properly, that's when we run into issues. So I think we could all agree that poor sleep doesn't just make you tired, it also makes you just feel more like blah. That's like the only word that comes to mind. It's just like blah, right? You can't think properly. You have more brain fog. You're not as sharp. It makes weight loss, if that's your focus, weight loss, fat loss, more challenging, right? So I'm curious, and those of you who are watching live, or even if you're watching the replay after, you could comment below. But how many of you are dealing with sleep issues right now? And how many of you have noticed these sleep problems starting around the same time as maybe weight loss resistance or energy crashes? So feel free to comment below. Don't be embarrassed. You never know who else is going through this. So feel free to comment. But here I'm going to explain what's actually going on with this. So again, progesterone, which is one of your other female sex hormones, think of it as your like nighttime operations manager. Okay, so she is sending, and we're going to call progesterone but she is sending very specific emails to your cells saying, calm your nervous system, begin cellular repair protocols, clear out your metabolic waste, prepare for tomorrow's energy needs, turn down the stress response. So just like estrogen, progesterone naturally starts to decrease starting at the age of 35, but it drops by up to like 80% in your 40s, which is huge. And again, that's biology. It's out of our control. It's going to happen. We know what to expect. But as always, we're always in control of making sure that we can counteract this. So just like estrogen too, if you start taking progesterone, progesterone hormone therapy, it won't work if your cellular inbox doesn't have the space to actually process, repair those messages, right? So when progesterone levels are adequate, we want to make sure that your cellular inbox again is functioning properly, so that your cells can receive those hormone messages and you're able to sleep deeply, you're able to wake up refreshed, your body is literally able to repair and reset overnight. But imagine if you're trying to send, right, progesterone, again, it's a she's trying to send these important nighttime emails. And she's trying to send it to an inbox that's about 99% full of spam. And I don't know about you guys, but I get a bunch, especially for those on if you have LinkedIn or things like that, people somehow find you and you get sent all these like cold emails. I get sent a bunch of like emails throughout the day. But like, imagine that your inbox is full with 99% of emails you don't want to see, you don't want to receive. And again, it's just going to bounce back or get buried under all that noise, right? So your daytime habits fill up your cellular storage at night, and that affects nighttime behavior. So for example, I'm just going to say common ones I see, but drinking multiple cups of coffee throughout the day. And I'm a coffee lover, so don't get me wrong here. I'm not going to tell you to cut coffee out, but I'm talking about 2 or 3 cups throughout the day, skipping meals or not eating enough. And of course, if you're not getting quality sleep throughout the night, yesterday's cellular emails never got properly archived. So that affects you throughout the day, and that could affect your hunger hormones. It can make you feel more stressed. It just affects the rest of your day, right? So you're flooding your system with inflammatory signals that take up that storage space in your inbox. And while progesterone is trying to send messages at night like, hey, wind down, let's start cellular repair, let's reset your metabolism, then your cellular inbox is like, wait, no, I can't. My storage is full. I can't process this right now. Try again later. Right? So this is also why some women who take progesterone, they start to, or like in that like progesterone supplements, progesterone cream, whatever the case, but they still can't sleep deeply. They still wake up tired, or it helps a bit, but it's not fully working. They still feel really anxious at night. The hormones are there. They're sending the right messages, but the cellular foundation is too overwhelmed to process those repair instructions. So if you're somebody who is starting progesterone, you're taking this, but you're still struggling with sleep, recovery, waking up feeling tired, you don't need more progesterone, okay? You need to make sure that you're implementing habits that are allowing you to clear out that cellular space so that progesterone can do its job, right? It could send out the repair and restoration messages, and your body could actually receive it and process it properly. So here are a few key things just to keep in mind to help support that cellular inbox, support your cells. So first thing, if you're not already doing this, cut caffeine out. And some people are even more sensitive than others, but a good starting point is make sure that you're not drinking coffee past 2 p.m. That's a very, very simple one. Another one that is super, super helpful and super easy to do is doing what I like to call a mental file cleanup at night. So you could do it like right before bed. You could leave a notebook by your side, even like when you go into bed, and just jot down everything that is unfinished from today and that you need to do tomorrow. And if your brain, because like if you don't do this, subconsciously your brain is holding on to this to-do list and your cells literally can't transition into repair mode. So that's just like an easy like brain dump. Anything that comes to mind, just dump it on, just put it on, just write down and then go to sleep. And another super, super easy one is keeping your bedroom between like 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. When your body temperature is too high, your cells can't get into repair mode easily. So just cranking up the temperature is very helpful. So again, these are all things like simple things that you could start implementing today. It's always case by case, so there might be other things that are going on, but these are simple things that you could start with right from the get-go. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to wrap this up, but the last thing is, so the third point, pillar number 3 is your cells if they're too overwhelmed, then they're going to send everything to what I like to call your cortisol spam folder. And let me say this loud and clear. Cortisol isn't supposed to be the villain, okay? Everybody is making cortisol seem like it's the problem, but think of cortisol, it has a purpose, and think of it, if we were thinking in terms of like, again, a company, workplace, think of it as your emergency response coordinator, okay? So cortisol is only meant to step in for like during real crisis, okay? So when your cellular inbox is overwhelmed, and what it's going to do, it's going to reroute all of those messages, even good ones, straight to cortisol. So cortisol should only get called when there's an actual crisis, and her job again is to send messages like, okay, we got to increase blood sugar for quick energy now. Like if you're getting, the classic example, like if a bear was chasing you, that's when cortisol, like, you want to increase it, you want to use that energy. You want to, okay, I got to heighten your alertness right now. I need to redirect. I need to shut things down to make sure that your body, we're focusing on just pure survival right now. I'm going to pause like any non-essential functions in your body right now. This is cortisol. It comes in when there's an actual crisis. So it's perfect. It does its job perfectly for actual emergencies. But cortisol is supposed to send these messages rarely and only for short periods. So the problem becomes when your cellular inbox is it gets overwhelmed, or it's too full with other things like I mentioned before, nutrient balances, other inflammation, things like that. Then that's when it's everything, it could be everything. Just to give you guys some examples, like everything from your morning workout, right? your healthy breakfast, your work deadline, even hormone replacement therapy or just starting something new, it could get marked as a potential threat in your body, and automatically cortisol is going to increase. Automatically it's forwarded to cortisol to just for that emergency response. So that gets your body even more confused, especially when it's in a state when stress is naturally a bit higher during, like, because hormones are changing. But things like that confuse your body even more. And if you're there and you're taking 15 different supplements without knowing what your cells actually need, it's like your body's getting emails in different languages that it can't understand. Or if you're switching diets every month or every few weeks, your cells don't know what to expect. Or if you're constantly pushing through fatigue instead of prioritizing actual proper recovery, your cellular inbox is just becoming overwhelmed, right? And that's where it can't tell the difference between real emergency or normal daily life. So cortisol starts treating your morning coffee like a crisis. It starts treating like your workout as if it's an attack, right? Your work stress as if it's like a life-threatening situation. And this is why some women, again, I'm just going to bring in hormone therapy again, but some women who get on the perfect hormone therapy protocols, optimal estrogen, optimal progesterone, the numbers look good on labs, perhaps testosterone too, but they still have high cortisol, or they still feel anxious, they're still storing belly fat, they still feel tired but wired. It's, again, the other hormones are sending good messages, but the cellular communication system is so broken that everything just gets rerouted to that emergency response. So it goes to cortisol. So if you're a woman over 35 and you're noticing that you're not able to handle stress the same way as you used to, maybe you're storing more weight around your midsection, you're having more energy crashes, the problem isn't just your hormone levels declining. Perfect hormone levels won't work if your cellular communication is treating everything as an emergency. So that's where testing hormone levels won't help. Following protocols that just claim to balance your hormone levels won't help. Taking supplements or getting on HRT without a proper foundation isn't going to help. Now, again, guys, don't get me wrong. When I'm saying this is, supplements, HRT can be helpful tools, but they are not the magic bullet, especially when you're doing it blindly. Okay, you have to optimize what's going on at the deepest level, at your cellular level first, or even the best hormone therapy, best hormone replacement won't work efficiently. And your cellular health, again, think of it as the foundation that determines any intervention. Hormones, supplements, diet, and when I say diet, I mean nutrition, exercise that can actually work. So after my accident, personally, just like a little personal side note here, after my accident, it wasn't until I focused on inflammation, filling in nutrient gaps, giving my cells supportive signals, that everything started working together. And that's when you do actually clear up your cellular inbox first. Hormone therapy, or even things like thyroid meds, if you're on thyroid meds, they work better and faster. Your natural hormone production improves, especially if you are somebody in your reproductive years. Supplements actually get utilized more efficiently. Your body starts responding to healthy choices and the efforts you're putting in better. Everything you're doing to support your health gets amplified. So instead of throwing more solutions to a broken foundation or an unstable foundation, you fix the system first so all of those solutions can work properly. And this is what I mean by working with your unique biology. It's the missing piece that makes everything else work. So here's the part, I'm just going to end off with this because I have to go live in our other group too, our private members only community. So, here's the part that might make some of you angry or might relieve you at the same time. Every diet, every workout plan, every wellness program that you see out there or that you've tried, has been trying to fix the symptoms and completely ignoring the cause. And think about it. Like if you've been told to eat less when your metabolism is already, crashed from muscle loss, or you've been told to exercise more when you're sleep deprived, right? And your body is already flooded with more stress hormones, or you've been told to have more willpower when your cells are literally resistant to using energy properly. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in the bottom, right? It's no matter how much water you pour into it, it's never going to stay full. So the solution isn't to pour more or to pour faster. The solution is to fix the holes. And the holes, they're hormonal, but the good news is once you understand how to work with your hormones instead of against them, that's when everything changes, right? So I've seen it with thousands of women. When you address that foundation first, suddenly your metabolism starts working with you instead of against you. Your energy becomes more steady and actually increases instead of crashing every afternoon. Your body actually starts responding to healthy choices again. And you stop feeling like you're fighting your own biology. So this requires a completely different approach than what most have been told of just like eat, be in a calorie deficit, move more, etc. So if you're thinking right now, if you're watching, you're thinking like, finally, somebody who's actually explaining what's happening instead of just giving me another restrictive plan or another, surface level advice. And if you're somebody who is analytical, you're successful at everything else you put your mind to and you set your mind to, and you want to learn more. You want to make sure that you're following an approach that actually works with what your body's going through and not against it. And you want to, take your health and your body to the next level. Feel free to comment start below. So again, if you're watching live, you could go ahead. If you're watching the replay, if you're tired of those surface level solutions that don't fit your life, your schedule, or your biology, I'll send you the next steps. No pressure, just a conversation, just to see where you're at, see what that would look like for you, see if and even how we could help. No micromanaging, no extreme protocols, just science and strategy that you need to feel confident in your body again. And if you found this training helpful, please, like the best thing, the easiest, the easiest thing that you guys could do, the simplest thing, and what would mean the world to me, is just share this with another woman who you feel is, maybe she hasn't even vocalized it yet to you, but you might feel like, hey, she might feel like, she's fighting her body instead of working with it. You're going to make such a difference. Like the impact you're going to make on her is going to make me so happy, right? And it's just about sharing this information, empowering other women to realize what is in their control. I'm just going to read a quick, we are all depressed because of all the injustice our guys fighting, the women guys. Okay. Yeah. News and stuff like that. So that when it comes to like political stuff, news out there, if you notice that it is increasing your stress, personally, guys, like I'm somebody, when it comes to what's going on in the world, again, it's important to be aware. It's important to be mindful, but always remember you could only control what's in your control. So just being mindful of what you're tuning into, what you're watching, what's on your social media. And that's why even this talk is, I always like to come on here and empower you guys of what's possible, because there is so much negativity in the world, especially when it comes to talking about hormones, right? And things like that. So always remember what's in your control if you are starting to feel stressed with other things that are going on politically or whatever the case. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here because I got to go live in our other group, but have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time. And until then, just support your biology, give your body the leadership it deserves, and just honor its potential. So thanks so much, ladies. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.